A mother stands frozen in the middle of a supermarket aisle in Osaka. Her 3-year-old has just dropped to the floor, kicking, crying, face red. Shoppers glance over, and she does nothing. No threats, no bribing, no stop embarrassing me, no iPad shoved into tiny hands. She simply watches, calm, patient, almost like this moment was expected. To many Western parents, this looks shocking, maybe even neglectful. But what if I told you this exact response is part of why Japanese children are far less likely to have public tantrums in the first place? And no, it's not because Japanese children are naturally calmer. It's not stricter discipline. It's not fear. And it definitely isn't because toddlers in Japan are somehow easier. The real reason begins around age 2. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the 3 psychological habits Japanese parents use that quietly prevent public meltdowns before they even begin. Welcome back to Wisdom with Shizuku. Today we're talking about one of the most exhausting parts of parenting, public tantrums, the kind that seem to appear out of nowhere, in the grocery store, at the airport, at a restaurant, right when everyone is watching. And if you've ever experienced one, you know the emotional spiral. First comes panic, then embarrassment, then the desperate urge to make it stop as fast as possible. But here's something fascinating. Japanese parenting takes a very different approach. Because in Japan, the goal is not to control the tantrum. The goal is to prevent the emotional explosion long before it happens. And modern developmental psychology suggests they may be onto something. Let's start with something most parents misunderstand about tantrums entirely. A tantrum is not bad behavior, at least not in the way we usually think. A tantrum is a nervous system overload. That distinction changes everything. At ages 2 to 4, the part of a child's brain responsible for emotional regulation, the prefrontal cortex, is still dramatically underdeveloped. In simple terms, your toddler literally does not yet have the wiring to stay calm the way an adult does, which means when they scream over the wrong cup or collapse because their banana broke in half, they are not manipulating you. They are overwhelmed. Japanese parenting begins with this assumption, and that brings us to the first concept, Amae. Amae is one of those Japanese words that doesn't translate neatly into English, but the closest meaning is this: the comfort of depending on another person's unconditional understanding. In practical terms, it means Japanese children grow up expecting emotional closeness, not emotional confrontation. And this starts very early. Co-sleeping is common. Physical closeness is constant. Children are carried, held, and emotionally monitored closely. Why does that matter? Because children who feel securely attached tend to escalate less dramatically under stress. Attachment research has shown repeatedly that emotional safety becomes the foundation for emotional regulation. When a child deeply believes, "I am safe, I am understood, my feelings do not threaten connection," their nervous system behaves differently. This doesn't mean Japanese children never cry. It means emotional overwhelm often reaches a lower peak. Now, this doesn't explain the supermarket moment. For that, we need the second concept, mimamoru. Mimamoru means to watch over while protecting. And this might be the most misunderstood part of Japanese parenting, because from the outside, it can look passive, but it's actually deeply intentional. In many Western parenting environments, distress triggers immediate intervention. Child frustrated? Fix it. Child upset? Distract them. Child cries? Stop it quickly. And of course, this comes from love. But Japanese parenting often assumes something different, that not every difficult emotion needs immediate rescue, because frustration itself is not dangerous. Learning to move through frustration is part of emotional development. So when a child begins escalating, Japanese parents are often more likely to observe first, not forever, not coldly, but long enough to assess, is this true distress or emotional frustration they may be capable of moving through? This matters because every time a child experiences manageable frustration and survives it, the brain learns something important. I can handle discomfort. That is resilience. Researchers often call this productive struggle, and children who experience it appropriately tend to develop stronger emotional regulation over time. Now, before you misunderstand, this is not about ignoring emotional needs. This is about resisting the instinct to interrupt every emotional wave before the child learns to ride it. And yes, that supermarket mother may have looked passive, but she may actually have been making a calculated parenting decision. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Because public tantrums usually don't begin in public, they begin much earlier, with overstimulation, hunger, fatigue, transitions, and Japanese parents tend to anticipate these triggers differently. This connects to another subtle cultural pattern: high observational parenting. In Japan, parents often spend enormous attention reading pre-meltdown signals, the slight voice change, the restless movement, the irritability before the explosion. And if you catch a tantrum before it peaks, everything changes. Think about adult emotions. You can still calm yourself when you're mildly irritated, but once you're fully furious, much harder. Toddlers are the same, except with far fewer emotional tools. So much of Japanese parenting is preventative, not reactive. And that brings us to the third habit: ritual. This one is quietly powerful. Japanese family life tends to be highly structured: predictable meal times, consistent bedtime rhythms, repeated routines, clear expectations. And while this might sound boring, for a toddler's nervous system, predictability is incredibly calming because uncertainty creates stress. When children know what comes next, the brain uses less energy scanning for chaos. Less stress means fewer emotional overloads. This is why transitions trigger so many tantrums. Leaving the park, ending screen time, going to bed. The child's internal world suddenly loses predictability. Japanese parenting softens this by building life around repeated rhythm, small rituals, same order, same expectations, same flow, and over time, that predictability becomes emotional scaffolding. Now, let me say something important. This doesn't mean Japanese parenting is perfect. Every culture has trade-offs. Japanese parenting sometimes emphasizes social harmony so strongly that emotional self-expression develops differently. And not every parent has the time, support, or lifestyle flexibility to mirror these systems exactly. That's not the point. The point is understanding the principles, because you can apply them anywhere. So here's the practical breakdown. If you want fewer public tantrums, first, build emotional safety before discipline. Children regulate better when connection feels secure. Second, pause before intervening. Not every frustration needs rescue. Sometimes resilience is being built. Third, study your child's warning signals. The tantrum often starts 10 minutes before the screaming. Fourth, protect routines. Predictability lowers nervous system stress dramatically. And finally, stop asking, "How do I stop tantrums?" Start asking, "What makes tantrums unnecessary?" Because that's the real Japanese shift. Not punishment, prevention, not control, regulation, not fear, trust. The truth is, Japanese children are not magically calmer. They are often raised inside systems that make emotional explosions less necessary. And maybe that supermarket mother knew exactly what she was doing after all. If this changed the way you think about tantrums, let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring parenting psychology, Japanese wisdom, and the hidden systems behind calmer family life, subscribe to Wisdom with Shizuku. I'll see you in the next video.